The good news is we're actually getting all these.
Well, the good news is we're live.
Yes, and the good news is we're
getting inquiries off the back of this. It's crazy because we sit here every day or nearly every day just talking absolute nonsense, and a bunch of guys are coming forward and inquiring about events and coming on events with us. So something's working. There's method in the madness.
Well, I think finally, we're just going to talk through briefly while the millions flood in about why guys now. Obviously, we put out a lot of content which encourages guys to get in touch, but there seems to be a massive stream of guys now wanting to fly out and do the trainings because of the fact we're talking about full English breakfasts, full English breakfasts, and random things in the mornings. People seem to vibe with that.
Well, those aren't included in the training.
No.
Although actually, House of Seduction. If people pay the right amount, we could get David Garcia and his penny cooking up some English breakfast for the lads.
I think David Garcia's English breakfast attempt would be, it'd just be a soggy sausage on a plate, wouldn't it? Not much else.
It'd be a burrito.
Not sure about that. But we could take them out. I'm just thinking if we did take them for a breakfast session in Bogota for no reason, a game briefing over a breakfast spread, what it would be in a restaurant in Bogota. They tend to quite like some kind of French breakfast style. There's that Bagatelle place we always went to for a morning black coffee, wasn't there?
Yeah, that place is nice. But I have had sort of English style breakfast. I think I've had it in a few. I think a few countries do a sort of variation on it, don't they? I had yesterday though. This will piss off the haters. Yesterday I had avo and toast in Sao Paulo. I found this. Have you been to that cafe? It's called Avo Grand or something.
Avo Grand. Santa Grau.
Santa Grau, yeah. On
Oscar Freire. Yeah, I have. It's a cool little spot.
Yeah, I found that. Actually, ChatGPT didn't let me down. That was the first recommendation, so I went and checked it out. And it's a really nice spot, isn't it? It's like full of
people watching as well.
Yeah. It's quite an upscale crowd in there, actually. There's some sort of like older, sort of quite sophisticated looking people wearing suits and all this kind of thing, you know.
Solid.
I rocked up with the old t-shirt on, the tattoos showing, you know. I felt like a right undesirable.
Mr. Juxtaposition, as old good-looking loser would have called you, but you seem to have developed a fetish for sure. Nothing wrong with that avo toast. You've got a fetish going on.
Well, according to one of our viewers, there is something wrong with it because we had this guy commenting under my stream and when the stream was on my channel, and he was like, avocado and toast, that's so hipster and nice guy award of the year.
Well, I'm going to disappoint him further with saying I kind of developed a bit of an addiction for matcha lattes. And matcha is stuff of yoga class, isn't it? Really, female over the hill, 30-year-old women, you know, from Australia, sunning themselves in Bali and drinking matcha and oat milk. And yeah, it's just quite nice because I load up on caffeine before the gym in the morning, but then I do not want to keep imbibing caffeine at that level. So my option is matcha because it's a bit less.
Is there any caffeine in matcha?
There's slightly more than tea, but less than coffee. So you can drink a couple of those, and it's not going to completely fuck your sleep up, basically, in the afternoon. So that's there's a method to the madness, and it's fucking healthy if you stay away from if you get an oat milk.
Yeah. Because this woman offered me one last night. Because I went for a quick bite to eat after I'd been to my thing, and she offered me. I said, "Have you got any?" Obviously, they don't have decaf, but I gave it. I tried anyway, and she's like, "No, but you can have a matcha." And I was like, "No, it's all right. I'll just have water."
Yeah, you could have gone for it. Actually, matcha cold as well in the sun, like an iced matcha latte, is a surprising. It's pretty tasty. I'll be interesting to see what the millions of viewers say about this. But
yeah. Matcha for the lads, anybody?
Matcha for the lads. It's a bit of a dark horse, a matcha latte. It's a bit like, oh, don't admit it. It's a bit like when I used to go on cruise ship. Well, I didn't used to go on cruise ships, but I've occasionally been on cruise ships, and they've got a few different variants of cocktails on the menu, and I end up ordering like a pina colada. Like I wouldn't
pina colada.
Really enjoy it. Like it's like quickly just down it, but don't tell anyone about it. It's that kind of thing of like the matcha latte.
Yeah, this is really. That guy's going to be horrified. If he was horrified by avo and toast, he's going to be absolutely horrified by pina coladas and matcha.
I would never drink that in public, though, just to be clear. If it's on the menu, I might sneak it down before the people I'm meeting.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you went on a date? Like, imagine going on a date with a, really hot young Brazilian girl, and it's like time to order drinks. You're like, yeah, pina colada, please. Oh, for the lady? No, for me.
Yeah, and it's got the little cocktail umbrella in as well that they used to do in the SDI clinic and jam it down. It's the same thing.
Almost as bad as chowing down on Korean chicken. Like, you can imagine, like, stuffing, throwing the wings over your shoulders. And, like,
the old Henry VIII. Just for the record, if I am in a bar with a girl on a date, I would my go-tos if guys are interested, because I'd be also interested to hear what they go for. My go-tos would be a Vespa Martini, or a gin Martini, or possibly a Negroni, or maybe a whiskey sour. It'd vary between those four. But if I can sneak in just for the taste, in secret, and it's done well, pina colada, a matcha latte as well. The thing is, you can in Brazil, you can kind of get away with this stuff a bit more. It's not because it's more homoerotic, the culture. It's just people just don't give a fuck. Like, you're not going to get judged like you would do in the Anglosphere, the lads down the pub. Mate, what's that?
Why haven't you got a fucking pint, mate?
Yeah, eat it or wear it. Like, and you don't know what to do. You have to shamefully pour the pina colada on your head. It's that kind of vibe. It's like Brazil, they just don't care. Yeah. People just don't care. They also just don't get leathered. It's not the same drinking culture. Like, a girl will come round, they might have a drink. I'll open I always have a well-stocked fridge in Brazil, and I'll open the fridge, and they've always got alcoholic options, non-alcoholic. They might take something alcoholic, but it's not a big deal here. It's not like people are sitting around getting leathered like in the Anglosphere, like we did for many years, and developing problems with it. I don't really see any alcoholics. It's not really a thing. Although they do get leathered at parties. We've seen that. Yeah.
Well, there's a few people sleeping in the streets as well who...
There are a few homeless. I've seen that, but it's not like crazy. Do you remember that party in Brazil actually we went to? We were just kind of standing around, and then it started off quite nice. That was where a walrus got blown out by loads of fat birds. It started off quite nice. It was outside in Rio Carnival, and then it descended into carnage. Like, after that's how it works in Brazil. It starts off pristine and proper, then just descends into madness. Everyone just gets
It started getting a little bit. What's one of the English festivals? It started getting a little bit sort of like Party in the Park or something, didn't it? It just sort of.
Yeah, it's even funnier though if you go to very classy events, and because it's very well-to-do people, like the sort of people in Santa Grau, and it's the same thing. You very good-looking people in their prime, and they start off very considered. It's all very elegant, dangerous liaison style, and then it just descends into absolute madness by the end. It's just quite funny, and then they just go home and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Brazil. And anyway, just the final point on Brazil, because the millions are now obviously flooded in from around the world. Get yourselves in touch, because we're going to make Rio Carnival 2027 massive. That's going to be a massive event. It's going to be. Get in touch though, because we're going to stick everyone in a massive pad as well. It's going to be the house of seduction, where you're putting girls from the street. Craziness will unfold, and
the house of seduction, Rio style.
That needs to be booked a number of months in advance. So limited spaces for Rio 2027. If you haven't been to it, it should be on your bucket list. It is that good. It's phenomenal. Highly recommend it.
Indeed. So today's topic is: you're not losing to better men, you're losing to faster men. And by that, I don't mean faster in the sense of, faster in the sack, like guys who last 30 seconds instead of my usual 2 minutes. I mean guys who are faster on the uptake in the dating market, who basically take the initiative, go out there, make things happen. So we've got some carefully crafted points, as usual, to go through. If anyone's got questions, put them into the chat. We'll try and deal with them later in the stream. So point number one, you're not in a dating market, you're in an attention market. Most men still operate as if dating is a neat little marketplace where a woman calmly compares on options and selects the best one. That world is gone. She's not choosing between men. She's choosing between stimuli. You, her phone, Instagram, work stress, half-remembered ex, 10 other conversations. If you don't capture attention quickly and cleanly, you're not rejected. You're simply never registered in the first place.
Yeah, and I'd argue the way to have the biggest halo effect, unless you're a celebrity, right, and she's hitting you up directly on DMs, is in person. You see the girl and you go up very confidently, very considered, and you snap her out of what she's doing by cold approaching, right? You look like trouble. I had to say hello. And obviously you're presenting well. You look good. Your vibe's on point. These are all all stuff you can prepare for. You can decide, right, how good's your eye contact? How do you speak? How do you enunciate? What do you say? These are all within your control. What's not within your control is actually her reaction. But that's actually irrelevant. You can drill and train the rest of the stuff and make that first 10 seconds. It is a real phenomenon, the halo effect in psychology. People remember the first impression. It's very hard to dislodge it. So if your first impression is shit hot, which you can train it to be, great. That's the way to bust through. 100%.
Yes.
And also because no men do it. Think about that hot girl that everyone's scared to talk to. If you're the fucking guy that has drilled approaching her, you stand out, you have a shot, you're the hot thing right in the moment, right? And then you can make something happen.
Yeah.
And you're never going to see her again, so you might as well. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Because again, it's about creating an emotional impact on her. And done correctly, if you go up and talk to her and she's like, wow, that was cool, that was exciting, that was interesting, and that doesn't normally happen. Because, you know, contrary to popular belief, it's not like women are getting approached all the time. They maybe get approached sometimes in a club or whatever when guys are drunk, but it's not happening to them hugely regularly during the daytime, and particularly not with any sort of skill or charisma. So if you do it and you're magnetic and you're charming and you're witty and playful and she's into you, then that is going to create a massive emotional impact on her, and she's not going to forget about that. She's not going to be like, it's not like you're just some other dude that she swiped on, you know,
100%.
Because she swiped on 50 guys yesterday, and she's not going to remember you. But if 100%. You meet her in real life and you do that, there's an emotional imprint there, which is, you know, I mean, it doesn't dislodge for a long time. I mean, there are women who I've met and had extremely brief conversations with, usually in, you know, foreign countries when I've been on trips, and a year and a half, 2 years later, say we haven't met for whatever reason, they'll still respond to the messages. Sometimes they message me like, "Oh, it was so cool, you know, that time we met in the Galleria in, you know, St. Petersburg or whatever." Like, they remember it for years. It's incredible.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
I think
you don't. Can't hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you not hear?
No, I can hear you. Sorry, I'm having some internet issues, I think, as usual.
It's brilliant because
right,
wherever you go, even if you're on like literally the Starlink satellite built by Musk himself, it'll be cutting in and out. It's hilarious.
You know, you can get Starlink. You can buy Starlink. I don't know if you get it in London, but a friend of mine's got it in Portugal because they live in quite a rural area. And you buy this, whatever the fucking thing is. And apparently the internet is unbreakable. Like, you know, you've got your thing, whatever the Elon shaped. Maybe it's an Elon Musk shaped like dildo type bit of plastic, and you have it here, and it picks up the Starlink. And apparently it's really, really good. So I might have to look into that. That might be the only solution for me.
The final solution. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So point 2, the man who acts fast beats the man who thinks deeply. You're drafting, refining, second-guessing your text messages. He's already suggested a drink. In a slower era, thoughtfulness may have had value. Now, speed reads as confidence and hesitation reads as uncertainty. The uncomfortable truth is that imperfect action consistently outperforms hesitation. And it's absolutely true, isn't it? You've got to cut to the chase.
Yeah, so how would we apply this are we talking about when you see the girl taking the action straight away? Are we talking about when you get her out on a date? Are we talking about asking her out on a date quickly? Are we talking about on the date itself, get it going fast, like escalation? How would we apply this, do you think? And there may be some different ways to apply it.
Just the things that guys often ask about, like we've talked recently about when you reply to text messages or when you send that first text. You want to ride the crest of the emotional wave. So you've met her, you want to text her almost immediately, or you want to text her within an hour. Get the ball rolling, because say you've just met her and it was a good interaction, it was sparky, her eyes lit up, all of that stuff, you exchange numbers. You don't want to be the chump who's like, oh, well, somebody said wait for 3 days and all that. It's nonsense. You're forgotten in 3 days. It's done. You're out. You know, it's got to be fast. Text her, you know, like, oh, so what are you doing tonight? If you can, get a date the same day. If not, that's fine. Get a date, you know, the next day or something, but get a date within, I would say a couple of days, really, of getting the number. This has got to be, it's about momentum. It's about moving this thing forward, right? Because otherwise, not only is their competition and there's a chance that you do lose her to the faster man, but also people are very ADHD these days. They just forget, you know? It's just like that moment that I talked about before. It's powerful in that moment, but you know, then life gets in the way. Then she's watched another 1,000 reels. She's had another 1,000 DMs in her inbox. She's had other guys hitting her up on Instagram or whatever. It starts to fade a little bit, you know. So you want to take that action now, you know.
Yeah, I'd co-sign that entirely. Is there any circumstance where we wouldn't recommend? Actually, and we do say to, for example, guys coming out to Bogota, you know, or where I've been, you know, in Rio Carnival, they're very sexual environments. The whole culture in Latin America is built around sex, sensuality. It's in the music, it's in the language, it's in the weather, it's in the vibe. There's no shame around sex. So it's normal to push towards sex quickly. So we encourage clients to go on instant dates. You know, what are you doing right now? Let's grab a quick coffee. Remember, for the girl as well, it's exciting, right? Human beings crave novelty and excitement and stimulation. So she wants to go on a date with an attractive stranger straight away. She wants to have an adventure. Who doesn't? Yeah. As even Helen Keller, right, who's a blind and deaf woman who came up with one of the greatest quotes, you know, that I always wave in clients' faces when I go, "Is your life actually very fun?" She's a blind deaf woman, now dead, obviously. But she said life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. If a blind and deaf woman is having a more exciting adventure than you, as a man in 2026, as of a life, you need to reconsider what the fuck you're up to. So part of that can start on a micro level. When you're in a conversation with a girl, don't just do the bland thing of take the number. Just think, okay, fuck, why don't we grab a quick drink now? You know, and push it forward. He who dares wins, as they say. Now, the only circumstance I'd say you need to sometimes slow it down is to not be needy. So definitely after the first bang or after the first date, regardless of how it's gone, I will not message the girl for 48 hours because I want to see, I don't want to be needy, and I want to see as a litmus test how quickly she messages me. Yeah. So there is some points you need to contrast, isn't there? Because guys can be, some guys are just a bit needy and they'll blow opportunities maybe being fast. So what are we saying here? Be fast in a calibrated way.
Well, be fast in the early stages, having sex, basically, you know?
Yeah, because foreplay begins at hello, doesn't it? You have a conversation, and then you should be, as you said, you should be texting the girl within 5 minutes, really. Or even the conversation you suggest to her, hey, either let's grab a drink now or tonight, what are you doing?
And I think one of the reasons why guys don't do this is because they're afraid of putting it on the line. You know, they're afraid of, because if you have a great reaction from a girl you've met in the daytime or whenever, you've got her number. If you then text her and she doesn't reply, then that's going to puncture that. You know, the good feelings that you had because she was nice to you and she was pleasant and blah, blah, blah. Then you text her, it's like, oh, fuck, she hasn't answered. Oh, right, my dream has died. Or if she texts you back, but then she comes back with one word or something. Or you are texting back and forth and then you ask her for a date and she doesn't reply, or she says no, or she says, I can't make it, blah, whatever. That's all of these things potentially are going to create pain in you to some degree because you want to feel good and you're feeling good already because this beautiful girl has stopped and talked to you. But the thing is, we have to lean into the possibility of it fucking up. We have to lean into the possibility of failure because otherwise you're just living in fantasy. Once you got that number and you're like, oh, right, I'm not going to text her tonight. And then that night, you put on some Lana Del Rey and masturbate lovingly to her. You're living in the fantasy of what could happen, but you haven't put it to the test. And the way to put it to the test ultimately is to start messaging her. And if she's responsive, then say, hey, listen, I know this cool place. Let's go for drinks. How about tomorrow? Because
it's the get laid or get lost mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
For a good-looking loser. Yeah.
You're moving it towards something tangible. Otherwise, you're just living in fantasy. Now, if she goes to you, if she's given you a fake number, if she doesn't reply, fine, right? Deal with it. At least you know. Now move on to the next one. But you've got to lean into rejection because your job is to move this thing forward. You know? She's not going to do it for you.
No, and she will. Eventually, it's going to go bad anyway. So you might as well just, you know, it always ends bad if you think about it on a long enough timeline. it always ends bad. And that should free you up to be like, I'm going to take relentless, progressive, fast action because there's no real bad consequence. Right.
So this we'll do questions at the end, but this guy
this
says,
is a good point though, because this is the caveat to all of this stuff, because neediness is the fucking, it does make women drier than Gandhi sandals. There was a point, Mark Manson, very intelligent guy. Yes, he does look like your great aunt, Silver Troy, but he is intelligent. And it was
Sylvia from in Clacton.
Yeah, I'm just getting. He kind of looks like he's morphing into Doc Cotton, isn't he? He's got these kind of curly things.
Yeah. He's got a tight perm.
I really like his content, and he's clearly a very intelligent individual, but he's quite he's not very masculine, is he? Not that everyone needs to be masculine, but he's kind of like wigged out hipster vibes, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I do like him. I mean, I was a bit critical of that alcohol thing for different reasons, but in general, I do really like him. But he does look a bit like my auntie Sylvia from Clacton.
Oh, I remember this place used to be amazing before all the immigrants moved in.
He doesn't, but he doesn't remind people of that. Doesn't remind you of that. For that, he doesn't actually speak like that. For those who don't know who he is,
she's a very refined woman.
Yeah, he looks like a kind of a 50-year-old woman.
Yeah,
but the point being, his book Models, which is a surprisingly good dating guide. Basically, it basically says self-development is the key. The whole first chapter is filtered through the needy man versus the non-needy man. And he argues the needy man, you're fucked. So the problem, the paradox we've got here, and there are a lot of paradoxes that exist within game. That's the whole point of game. It's like, and calibration is knowing when to be fast, when to be slow, always appearing not needy. So how do we correlate these two together? How to be fast without being needy?
Doesn't it, in my view, it depends on the mental framing, because my mental framing in the early phases is not, I'm super needy. My mental framing is, look, I'm a guy, you're a woman. We both know what's going on here. I find you attractive. I'd like to meet you because I'm a decisive guy. I've got other shit to do. I'm not going to fuck around. So look, tomorrow, I know this cool cocktail bar, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Now, if she then says, I can't Wednesday, but maybe Friday, okay, fine. But the way I'm positioning it, the way I'm thinking about it is not, I'm so needy. It's just like, no, come on. We both know what's going on here. We're both adults. Let's cut to the fucking chase. But
what you're not doing, and this is going to confuse guys, is you're not going Alan Roger nutsack, are you? You're not saying, hey baby, that's fuck, like in a very uncalibrated way. You're insinuating while still moving the whole thing along fast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be sort of delicate with the language here. And, look, I mean, I'm the least Alan Roger nutsack guy on the planet. I mean, I'm not saying anything crude to her. I'm not doing anything like that. And, also there's nothing coercive about this either, because of course, as we've said many times, if the woman at any point doesn't want to continue with the interaction, that's absolutely fine. That's her freedom to do that, of course. But I'm just saying, I think wanting things to develop at a certain pace, particularly in those early stages, I don't think is needy. I just think again, what would James Bond do? First mention of James Bond, everyone drink a shot. But what would Daniel Craig's James Bond do? He wouldn't be like, I think I'll leave it for 2 weeks and, kind of like develop things slowly. He'd be like, no, listen, I've got to go on a fucking mission. I'm going to blow some shit up in Greece tomorrow. Do you want to meet me or not? No? Okay, fine.
Yeah, he also
would that energy that we're bringing to this.
Yeah, he also wouldn't. Yeah, there's no shame around pushing it forward sexually, but he's not being blatant, is he? He wouldn't say, meet me outside my front door so we can have sex. Because a lot of guys get confused with this and start going, right, I'm just going to show the girl, like Blue Peter, here's one I did earlier, show her and tell her exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. There needs to be nuance there, needs to be plausible deniability. A fellow coach of ours was saying yesterday, in the US, he will invite women straight round. It's like, well, the problem with that is you're being too blatant and there's no subtlety there. Whereas if your plan is, okay, skip the date process, I would say, yeah, fine, that's fine. And that's what I do. But I don't say come directly to mine. I'll say meet me at the coffee shop beside my house, knowing full well that I'm just going to basically grab a coffee to go and lead her up into my house with plausible deniability. But I'm not saying, right, come directly round to my place. So guys will fuck this up because they're like, right, I'm just going to be really direct. And then women are either going to get on the bandwagon or they're not. Unless you're like incredibly high status or you're an actual porn star and that's what they're signing up for. there needs to be some subtlety within it. You need to still play the game. You need to be direct but indirect. You need to insinuate. It can't just be Alan Roger Curry style. You know, he's sitting at your grandmother's head going, "Let's bang, bitch." It doesn't fly, does it?
Yeah.
So
no, maybe we should have defined terms a bit. I mean, with this, because I'm not talking about that specifically, because I will often go on a quote unquote date, or at least go for a couple of drinks with them at a bar that's not my house. Often, not always, but often I will. And whether they then come home with me that night or they don't, obviously is up to them. I mean, I will suggest, I'll put it out there. Whether they do or not, obviously that's entirely down to them. So that it's more of a normal dating process, if you want. All I'm saying is that you want to get that going as quickly as possible. Right, you don't want to be leaving it for 2 weeks, and
your frame is your internal frame is very clear, which is you know the girl, you've met the girl, she's under no illusion why you're meeting. It's potential romantic. You're going on the date with the view to if we get on well and I escalate, I'm going to try and pull her home. So your game plan is very set in your own head as well. You know what's up, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that communicates through. I can't think of a time over the last 10, 15 years. God, going back a bit now, aren't we?
God, you've been in the game a while, haven't you? You've been doing it longer than that, since the age of what, 20?
I've been doing it since 1932. I had to take a break for the war, but I can't think of a single example when, in my view, I've made a woman think, "Oh, he's a bit needy," and she's then blown me out as a result of that. It just hasn't happened. You know, because you can usually tell. You've
never come across as needy in a situation.
Sorry,
you've never come across as needy in a situation.
No, again, I'm talking about this specific thing. I'm talking about I've met her, ask her out on the date, let's get things going.
Right.
Have I then come across as being needy after we've had sex and we're sort of seeing each other? Yeah, probably, but that's a slightly different thing, isn't it? Sure. We're talking about speed of initiation here, aren't we?
Right. So we're talking about, just for guys tuning in, we're talking about anything from when you see the girl and getting the number up till the first date. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, you know, he's saying, so momentum is everything and acting when the vibe is high. Can't you build it slowly in this dating market? I would say no, not really. That's the whole argument we're making. You definitely
can't build it slowly via apps. You could probably build it slowly. I mean, maybe do you have any leeway to sometimes? Because I do sometimes get girls who have not come out, and then they'll see WhatsApp statuses of mine and suddenly be enamored with me and get in touch and want to see me. So, again, there's nuances, aren't there? But I think the general gist of what we're saying is faster is better, because we live in such a fast attention economy that women just inundated with options and lose interest very fast.
Yeah, I mean, the first line of this thing was you're drafting, refining and second guessing your messages. He's already suggested a drink. So this is the point. It's like, oh, what's the perfect line? Or, oh, should I invite her for barbecue chicken? Or should I take her to the sushi place? The answer is neither, by the way. You know, and you're sort of agonizing over it when some other guys just swooped in there and gone, hey, listen, drinks tonight. You know? So again, it's specifically around this thing about initiation, the momentum, riding the vibe, as this guy says. Ideally you want to get it going quickly. Now, is there some leeway? Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, I've met women, and for whatever reason, we haven't been able to meet up that quickly, and I've had to sort of keep it warm in the background. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, but anything, in theory, anything can work, but it depends very much on the circumstances, the girl, your vibe, etc., etc. Just for general practice, I think what we're saying is you want to initiate and move quickly and benefit from the momentum between the two of you.
100%. And just for the record, for guys watching, there's been a few clients recently who are trying to take girls for elaborate first dates, for dinner. Don't eat with a girl on the first date. It's not attractive sitting across from basically a stranger, stuffing your face. It's not attractive. It's really hard to escalate. It's a lot of pressure because it's interview style. Cool, dimly lit bar, nice lighting, chilled music. Sit next to her, have a cocktail. Even if you don't drink, order something non-alcoholic, a non-alcoholic cocktail or a sparkling water. The point is the ambience is sexy. You're not sitting directly opposite her. You can escalate. You can talk to her. You can pan around to the rest of the bar. just make it easier for yourself. Like having dinner on a first date. It's straight out of 1950s rom-com. Women don't even expect it anymore. Like, and if they do, if they're asking you for dinner and they're unwilling to meet you outside of that, they're not women you should be dating, right? She should be willing to have a drink with you, get to know you, low energy, low vibe, low investment on both sides. So that's a key thing.
Yeah. Well, just one slight devil's advocate there. Apparently, there are women who are asking for dinner, because I do get, sometimes guys will mention this, or sometimes I read about it on Reddit and stuff like that. And I had a guy in a WhatsApp group that I had before from London, and he was like, "Oh, the problem with dating in London now is that women just always expect dinner on the first date." I'm like, "No, they don't. I live there. What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, mate, no. They all want dinner on the first date. Like, they don't." So obviously there was something wrong with whatever he was doing. He was, I don't know. But anyway,
women will try it on though. If I've been in touch with women who are more serial daters, stroke, that kind of escort-y vibe, right? And they absolutely are looking for a free dinner. But do not fall into that frame. If a girl, it's a big red flag. If a girl ever starts changing the goalposts on dates, whenever I've gone along with that, if she doesn't go along with your plan, it always ends badly. And I'm not talking.
No, it has happened to me. It has happened to me, and I have fallen into the frame sometimes. I mean, it happened to me in New York a couple of years ago, where I met this girl through. Just met her in Penn Station. Just went up and talked to her. Met her. She's Russian.
Of course, Mr. Bond.
And she came out and she did the classic thing that they'll sometimes do. So I said, "All right, let's meet for drinks." She's like, yeah, cool. And then she comes and meets me. And then she goes, I am a little bit hungry now. And he's like, "All right, okay." So, and then you're in the situation of like, well, what do I do? Because I quite liked her. We were getting on quite well and everything. And it was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But at the same time, so I was like, oh, okay. So we went to one point. I had something relatively low key. But, it still didn't. I saw her another time or two after that, but it still didn't really amount to very much. So that probably, but it's a difficult situation though, isn't it? Because what are you realistically going to do? So it's like, no, fuck you, and then just walk off. I mean, you could do that. Maybe that would be the strong frame thing to do.
Well, I got fleeced by a Rusky in St. Petersburg. She gave me very strong eye contact in the street. I thought, oh, she's game on because she's not from there. We were there for a couple more days, and I was trying to meet her, and she was like, yeah. And she kept suggesting these places which were quite high-end restaurants. So I was like, no, let's just meet for a drink. She was like, okay, but what about this place? And because I was horny, I succumbed. It was a sushi place on that street we're staying on, Rubensteiner. But the problem was we rolled in. She sat opposite, ordered a boatload of food. I also ate. It wasn't super expensive. It is what it is. It was like 30 quid a head, whatever. But sitting opposite her, trying to make something happen. Nothing, it's very hard to create that vibe. Walk out, try and grab a hand. She was like, no, you've got the wrong idea. I was like, I've literally been fleeced. Now, the purists will go, well, you should have given a read of the war act. I didn't. I just said, okay, see you later. I didn't get reacted.
You don't want to read her the riot act because
you're not going to gain it. It's just your ego kicking in there. You've fallen into a frame. You're the sucker, right? And I just accepted it. I chalked it up to the game, and I was like, well, I should have stuck with my gut. And usually, your gut instinct is right. If the girl starts changing the venues or mucking around or saying we've got to meet at this special place, go with your gut instinct. A feminine girl wants to fall into a masculine guy's frame. So if you're suggesting a drink and she actually wants to see you, she will come and see you for a drink, right?
Now, I just complete devil's advocate to all of this. I have a couple of times succumbed to dinner before intimacy with women, and I have been able to pull it off. So there was a time in London with Miss K, actually, and she wanted to go for a dinner. I was like, okay, whatever. So I wanted to go. I was like, okay, it could be quite fun. So we went to Sexy Fish. And we were sitting opposite each other. It was the whole fucking thing. But because, it's a quite small table. We're sitting opposite each other, but I'm sort of under the table. I'm like stroking her leg and all this kind of thing. There's a lot of eye contact and everything. So I was able to pull it off. And then we go for drinks afterwards. And that didn't harm me one iota. It was absolutely game on after that. So you can do it. But I would say, and this isn't trying to blow smoke up my own back door, but I would say it's a slightly more advanced thing to be able to pull off.
I wouldn't. I mean? Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I wouldn't recommend that to the average punter who's watching this. It's not. And we're not saying you can never eat with women either, right? Once you fuck them a few times, absolutely take her out for food, right? But just don't put things in the way that are going to slow the process down. And food is a big one. And women will, if you don't really know what you're doing, women will say, "Oh yeah, that's me," and grab some food.
So we had a client who came out with the opinion that just going for a bar for drinks is try hard compared to going for food. I mean, does that make? How do you decipher that?
I think I just can't see in any reality that's a reasonable comment. I mean, yeah, there's no place on earth where like actually eating with a girl on a first date that you barely know is a good move for intimacy fast. It's just there's no conceivable scenario where that's the case.
Yeah.
And also you want to remove that, because if you remove the incentive of an expensive meal and the girl still wants to see you for a drink, it's actually a really good sign. It means, yeah, she wants to get to know you. There's no added things involved. There's no different value adds. So you want to strip down that process anyway and make it not unappealing, but make it very, okay, it's me and you. Let's get to know each other. 10 minutes, one drink.
I mean, generally speaking, to be fair to him, I think he was talking about going to a relatively inexpensive place. But in general, actually, the try hard thing is taking her for dinner. Because often what guys will do is like, oh, there's this place, it's got 3 Michelin stars. Let's go, babe. You at first date, right?
100%.
It's obviously an attempt to impress her. Whereas if you're doing the like, oh, let's just go for a couple of drinks, very low key. That's less try hard, isn't it?
100%. And we're not saying do the Torero here of going to a base, very Weatherspoons. American viewers won't know what that is. Maybe Australian viewers won't. We're not talking about going to kind of a redneck bar, like a really trashy, you've got drug addicts shooting up outside. Because that was Torero's model, take them to an absolute dump on purpose, because it's like the bad boy thing. It's like, well, not really.
To filter out the women who were just looking for freebies, I suppose.
The problem is you've got to read it case by case, because I've dated some very sophisticated Russian women who, if I had tried that, I'm pretty sure they'd have just said, fuck this, right? I've got to go. Whereas, and I took them to a mid-range bar, it was fine. But again, you don't necessarily need to polarize too extreme. If the girl's willing to meet you for a drink, just take her to a normal place, dimly lit cocktail bar. You can, wherever you live in the world, there's cool bars, inexpensive cocktail bars. It doesn't have to be a 5-star hotel. There's places where we are in Sao Paulo where it costs, £6 a drink? I mean, and it's a really nice setting, low lit, intimate. That's exactly what you want. And get to know her, right? And this scares a lot of men. I think the reason, Troy, a lot of guys will put in dinner, activities, drinks, is because they're actually shit scared about sitting next, with a girl and thinking, can I produce some sort of a vibe here? Am I going to just suck it up? Is she going to see through that I'm a loser?
Yes.
And honestly, it is scary. When you first start learning this process of dating, it is a bit scary. But you have to just...
Yeah. But that's that's exactly what you need to do. I mean,
yes, discomfort always points the fucking way. Fear is the compass of whatever you're uncomfortable with dating, you need to lean into.
A guy that we were working with actually said, he actually used the term, I think it was buffer. He was like, there's no buffer when you guys go for drinks. Whereas when you go for a meal, you're selecting different things from the menu. There's a bit more going on. And I was like, no, that's what we want. We want to remove the buffer, right? Yeah. It's got to be just you and her, couple of drinks.
And conversation and your riz, right? And that scares the fuck out of a lot of men, because it's like, fuck, I've got nowhere to hide. Especially if you're not going to sleep with her. You're going to fuck this process up a fair bit at the beginning.
But that's where the gold lies, though.
And that's where the growth lies.
Yeah. You've got to lean into that. There should be no buffers, I mean, you don't even have to drink alcohol. It's just like ideally, well, not ideally. I mean, I personally, don't drink alcohol.
Well, that's another buffer in itself, isn't it? You went from doing obviously dates like me, and then now you do sober dates. So that's another layer of I've actually got to fucking perform here. That's where the growth happens.
That's where we need to get to. It's like you sitting down in front of the girl, stone cold sober, nowhere to hide, and you can beguile her. You can pull her into your world. That's what we're aiming. That's the whole skill set. Yes,
and that's what every guy will do their best to avoid at any cost, right?
Yeah,
because it's uncomfortable, but that's where the growth lives. And actually, if you can develop it as a skill set. And when I first started going on dates, I was very good at the party trick of the 5-10 minute conversation on the street. I got massively found out by women, because I just didn't know what I was doing. But this is a learned skill. The approaching's a learned skill. The texting's a learned skill. The seduction process on a date is a learned skill. And you desensitize yourself through repetition. You become more comfortable. You get used to, okay, maybe it's not going to work out. And that itself takes the pressure off you and you perform better. And we can give you questions, structures to rely on. We teach you how to escalate. It is a learned skill. But guys shit themselves if in their heart of hearts, that's the reason they're putting these other things in there. So it takes the pressure off a bit. No, fuck that. We thrive in pressure. The masculine has to have pressure. Carbon pressurized turns to diamond, right? Growth happens in these uncomfortable moments.
Yes, indeed. So the next point, number 3. God, we're only on point 3. For me,
we can go to point. How many is it? 10 points, is it?
Yeah.
We can go to point 5 and do some paragnosis and do point part 2 tomorrow because it's 40 minutes in.
Well, we might, but can we do tomorrow though? Because you're going to be in transit,
true.
aren't you?
I will be in transit.
In the next episode, we can do it.
In the next episode.
So number 3, familiarity is dead, novelty wins. You've been told consistency builds attraction. In long-term relationships, yes. In early-stage modern dating, not so much. Attention is captured by what interrupts the pattern. That's a good line that I came up with. A slightly unexpected comment, a bold move, a change of tone. If you blend in with every other polite, measured guy, you become part of the background noise. So, yeah.
What was the headline for that? What was the headline for that point again?
Familiarity is dead. Novelty wins.
Yes.
So
human beings crave novelty. It's exactly why we're all hooked on our phones, because we're craving the next notification. Shit, is this the one? It hooks the brain. It's what the multi-trillion dollar casino industry is built on: variable rewards, right? Novelty, spontaneity. So how can we apply this to the process we're talking about?
Well,
Big faster.
I like this line: attention is captured by what interrupts the pattern. Now, in a way, everything that we're teaching here is about interrupting the pattern, because an approach is interrupting the pattern, because the normal pattern is you're in the coffee shop, she's in the coffee shop, you both buy your drinks, and then you both walk out and nobody speaks to each other. That is the normal accepted pattern. So when you turn to her and you're like, oh, so is that the Frappuccino? I heard that was nice. How is it? Or whatever the fuck you say. That's breaking the pattern in some way. And that's the start of why cold approach, or whatever you want to call it, is powerful. Because you're breaking a pattern. You're doing something slightly unexpected. You're not doing something unacceptable. You're not doing something crude or vulgar or rude or, threatening or anything like that. But you are breaking a little bit of a pattern. And then when you're like, she's like, oh, the coffee in here is really great. And you're like, oh, yeah, but you don't seem like you're from here. I'm guessing you're maybe Latin American. Are you from, I'm guessing, Colombian? She's like, no, yeah, I've lived here for a couple of years, but I'm actually from Medellin or whatever. You're like, oh, really? I went to Medellin. Then you start telling a story. All of these things, you're going slightly outside the societal norm, but that's what makes it powerful, rather than the guy who's just on the app and then he's like, oh, can I meet you for a drink and so I can wear chinos and talk about my 401k? We want to be going against all of that,
Yeah, so make the...
I've actually got chinos on.
I missed that. The screen buffered as you stood up. But what color are they?
They're the classic flannel kind of. What do you call it? Like stone or whatever.
Stone Island. Yeah, I completely agree.
Proper fucking brand, Stone Island.
Stone Island. You want to make the opener novelty, right? Why not make it self-amusing and interesting for you? Because it breaks the mold. So. Yes, day game or cold approach is a novelty skill set in itself. So you can get away with just saying, hey, I had to say hello, right? But you might as well make it interesting, because then it's even more of a pattern breaker, isn't it? You look like trouble. I was thinking you're from, but then I was thinking, and she's never heard this before. The thing that you're doing repeatedly is opening women in daytime scenarios. But if you change up the opener, make it contextual, observational, playful, it's going to inject that dopamine, that novelty into the situation every time.
Well, some of the best ones actually are when it's circumstantial, and that's
completely spontaneous. Yeah.
A guy in the comments the other day said, with suggestions for topics, and his suggestion for a topic was, why didn't you discuss openers that you can use that aren't compliments? It's like, well, that's a bit of a shit topic, because we're going back to the days of 7 things to say to a girl in Starbucks, which is not really going to get many views. But secondly, it's quite a hard thing because those things tend to be quite circumstantial. Like when I've worked with clients recently, a lot of the time we'll be out and about in the streets and things, but often I'll take them into a store. And the great thing about stores is there's a fuckload of stuff that you can talk about. So I've gone up and done ridiculous openers, like, you're in the cookery department and there's some weird utensil holder that's shaped like an elephant or something, and you pick it up and you go, Jesus Christ, have you ever seen one of these before? What the hell is that? What's like? I was in Zara Home recently, and there was a girl looking at some things, and I just picked up this thing. I don't know what the hell it was. It looked like some kind of female sex toy. Like, I was like, I just said to her, what the hell is this thing? What's this actually for? Have you ever seen one of these before? And she looks at it. She's like, no, I don't know what it's for either. I'm like, come on, but you're a girl. You're supposed to know about homewares and stuff. Come on, help me out here. And then we started the conversation like that. So you can find something that's completely random. That's more likely to happen, as I say, in stores, in department stores, where there's more visual stimuli around. That's why in the street, people tend to default to the, oh, you look French, because there's not a huge amount to say necessarily in the street unless something crazy is happening nearby, in which case...
The thing is, if you're truly present, and this is why we try and encourage guys to phone on flight mode, be really present in the moment because it's all we have. But if you're truly present, there's always something to talk about with the girl's clothing or her vibe or her style or the dog she's walking or some combination of things. And you're training your brain in the moment to come up with stuff creatively and playfully. And it's very, very powerful. Because it is in the moment, she's never heard it before, and it is going to get her attention, right? Yes. So the power of cold approach is great. You came up with this point because it beds down the idea and the understanding about how powerful this is to the human brain. You know, because she's not. It doesn't matter if you're out playing, so your approach is she is not expecting it. So you're patter interrupting her day. We've said this before, but even really hot girls, most of them. Most humans in general, doesn't matter who they fucking are, they live quite boring lives. It's quite routine, the same thing every day. Whereas if you're swanning in, you know, open a girl in the line at Starbucks or walking the dog in the street, they're not used to that, right? It's automatically novelty because they're only used to meeting men in clubs at night or on an app. Yeah. So by just randomly saying something throughout the day, right, and you can train this, it becomes easier. You start coming up with stuff on the fly better. It's a massive dopamine boost for the human brain. Now, especially if you present well, if you look good, you present well, and you're calibrated, women love it, right? Because it's how you make them. How does it feel? But you're spiking the dopamine system in her head, right?
How does it feel?
How does it? Oh yeah, that's a great tune, London Grammar.
It's Blue Monday.
No, but also, we're mixing up two different songs. There's another tune by London Grammar, amazing tune. How does it feel?
Okay,
with a hot English girl singing. You must know them.
I do know them, but I don't know.
The guy I used to play rugby with was Porkinger. He was the long-term boyfriend at uni.
You know,
relentlessly cheated on her, so she dumped him. He was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" Like, I had it made. No, yeah.
HS Tiki Toki's dad was a rugby player. Do you know who it is?
Is he famous? Was he famous?
Apparently, yeah. Black guy, but quite posh English accent, interestingly. And actually, Piers Morgan brought this up because Piers Morgan, when he interviewed Tiki Toki, said, "Oh, I know, I knew your dad back in the day."
Victor Bugu, bloody hell, yeah, he's super famous. He was like, when I first started watching rugby, he was like the prop, one of the beefy forwards, like really famous English rugby player, like a bit of a cult legend. That's insane.
Can you believe it?
No, I can't actually. It kind of, you just think, fucking hell, his son didn't turn out very well because this guy was really well respected, like really looked up to, you know, anti-racism, you know, all the white people loved him. Blah, 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 that kind of vibe back in the day. And this is, we're talking like 86. No, I was born in 86. We're talking about 1990 when I first started watching rugby. Victor Bugu was super famous, yeah.
Right, yeah, well, there you go.
I'm surprised and slightly disappointed with how his sons turned out because Victor Bugu speaks quite posh, quite well considered, right? A well-mannered guy, and you've got this guy, he's like, oh, my OnlyFans are fucking ripping being right. Jesus.
Well, Piers Morgan, I think, before they blew the interview up, was trying to make that point because he was like, "Oh, your dad was such a legend," and etc. And you know, how would he feel about how you've turned out? You know, he was going down that route with it. I think. I have to say though, some of their content. There's another guy called Ed Matthews who Tiki Toki's friends with. Just another sort of, he's a sort of Essexy type dude. just comes out with some of the funniest lines because they've got he's mates with Clavicular and stuff, and they show them talking to these girls, and he's sort of like, he's talking to this redhead girl behind a bar, and she says she's Brazilian actually, but I think this is in the States. He's like, okay, so what colour's your minge then? And then they cut it. It's quite funny stuff. I mean,
there you go.
Extreme brain rot, but nevertheless.
But again, it's novelty, right? So again, the girl's not going to. You look if you're in a really good vibe as well, and guys watching this must have been in the state before. You're on a night out, you're just being social with your friends. Everything's just kind of working, right? You're just in a bar having fun. You can get away with just saying ridiculous shit to people, including women, and they respond well because it's the vibe you're in. Yeah. So better to say novelty, spontaneous shit than not. But better to say nothing at all. But better say something than nothing at all.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Point number 4. Apps have trained women to expect constant upgrades. This isn't about blaming women. It's about recognizing the environment. Swipe culture has quietly installed the idea that there's always a better option one scroll away. That changes behavior. It raises thresholds and shortens patience. You're not just being evaluated on your own merits, but against a constantly refreshing feed of alternatives. So again, thinking about this in the context of moving quickly, if you're the guy who's hanging back and taking it slow and building up the vibe over WhatsApp, at the same time, she's constantly evaluating you against other prospects who may be in her DMs or may not be, but she thinks could come into her DMs. You're constantly being appraised against the potential competition, which is vast and global. So again, there's this idea that, look, you want to move things forward fast because otherwise you might just find yourself timed out,
Yeah. I think a lot of this comes down to just guys having a fear of rejection, to be honest, because if you're truly comfortable with rejection, you'd be willing to push things very fast and burn them in the knowledge that you either sleep with a girl fast or she fucks off and there's millions of other options.
Yeah.
But I think guys live in scarcity, so they think where's the next meal coming from, or they're scared of rejection.
Because if you're approaching as the sort of slightly roguish lover boy, which is what you should be doing, and the connection between you is right, she knows what the deal is anyway. She knows what the game is. And
she wants to go along for the ride. She's happy to go along fast, isn't she?
She wants to go along with the ride. So in that spirit, you should just burn it to the ground. It should be like, you two have met, you're texting a little bit in the afternoon, you're like, hey, let's grab drinks. Now, she might say, I can't tonight because I've got to do something, but, tomorrow, okay, fine. But, you want to push things forward and ride that momentum because that's exactly what the person who you're purporting to be would do. And if she doesn't want to do that, okay, fine, on to the next person.
So what we're saying, what we could be saying is guys need to lean into this identity of the fast sex guy and actually maybe think about how to act through that lens.
Yes. Sorry, are you just making that as a statement or?
Well, I'm just thinking we're saying present as the lover. So what guys should be doing is stepping into it because habits are downstream of identity, aren't they? If they're acting as if this fast sex guy, they're approaching in the street, you want to always be stepping into this role and method acting it. And don't take it personally. If the girl opts out and you get rejected, it doesn't matter because you're playing this identity of the fast sex guy. And ultimately, if you do that enough, that's just it's a bit like the alter ego.
It's extremely unlikely that a girl who genuinely likes you is going to be put off because you suggest a date quite quickly. Right. The worst thing that's going to happen is she's going to go, I really can't this week because I've got all this stuff at work, but I am free on Tuesday.
And who cares? Just doesn't matter if you zoom out and realize the world is still spinning. Who cares? She says no to you. You might for 2 seconds. The thought of rejection is way better than rejection. For 2 seconds, you might go, "Oh fuck," and then you're back to normal again. You've forgotten about it, and it's like, well, who next? Rejection is built up in our heads to be such a big deal. It traps men, but it just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, that girl's not keen. Fine, find someone else. It's not some whole verdict on I'm a loser, my life is ending. That's the suffering we spin when we spin a story out of what the actual fact is. But the fact is, this girl wasn't interested. Okay, can you get past that? Yes, if you just see it objectively and don't get wrapped up in your own fucking ego making stories about, oh, this is terrible, I'm such a loser, let me go home and masturbate sadly to Lana Del Rey. No, fuck that. One girl, a blob of flesh who's also going to die, said she's not interested. That is it. Right. thinking about that completely objectively with no story wrapped up. What's next? Right, go and approach 100 more. And I guarantee you'll get one of them into bed who is into you. It's very, very simple. It's the stories we tell ourselves that fuck us up.
Yeah.
Right? The suffering we attach.
Yeah, absolutely. And then point 5, hesitation now looks like low value. So men like to tell themselves they're being respectful and measured and not rushing things. What often comes across is indecision. In a fast-moving environment, clarity and decisiveness signal value. So actually, this is flipping it on its head in a way. This idea of like, oh, you're going to look needy. This is actually saying it the other way around. It's like, no, you're not going to look needy. You're going to look like somebody who knows his value and knows what the deal is and is moving things forward, right? You're decisive. You've got clarity. Ambiguity.
Yeah, it's knowing what you want and just going after it and being okay with any outcome. Being okay if the girl says no, right?
Yeah,
but know what you want.
Ambiguity feels like weakness. If you don't move things forward, the assumption isn't that you're thoughtful. It's just that you're unsure of yourself.
Yes.
Which is a good point, isn't it? Because actually, if you've done this correctly and the girl's into you, she actually expects you to step up to the plate and move things forward.
Especially if it's for a cold approach. You know, you walked up to go to a coffee shop, you made her feel something, which you're understanding how to run a conversation. She feels attraction. She's absolutely expecting you to move it forward fast. And it's not congruent if you don't.
Exactly. And in the end, she might end up losing respect for you for the fact that you didn't take action.
In the end, on a long enough timeline, I guarantee you every woman you have a date will lose respect for you because that's just how women are built, right? But it's okay, you know. It's okay. This is a good point from old brambadonde.com, which is, as in the words of the famous TT, Tom Serrero, 56 minutes in, that's an improvement. If you fuck all this game shit, if you want to learn all this stuff, but if you want to get good at this and you can't be bothered to learn all the game shit, as he termed it, then just learn to lead. It's very true. Be decisive, lead. That's what the masculine is, and the feminine, which the the polarity energy, that's what she wants. She wants to be led by a guy who knows exactly what he's up to, right? So just lead, push it forward.
Absolutely. All right, should we leave the rest of the points for now and maybe do some parish notices then?
Yeah, it's a good point in the stream though, because it just makes me think, why do guys hesitate at all? Like, it can only end in she ends up in your bed, or you don't speak to her at some point, she loses interest at some part of the process. Those are the only two outcomes that happen. So there's nothing to be afraid of. You might as well just relentlessly push stuff forward, because
it's interesting that there are some guys in the chat who are almost trying to make arguments for why can't you take it slowly, or isn't it best?
For most men, the problem is it's avoidance, because they're scared about rejection, so they delay it to hoping the girl's going to give massive signals it's game on, right? But women often on dates, they'll rarely be green light would be, you know, you touch her and she's massively touching you back. Red light is you touch her and she's like, no, get off, or takes your hand away. Most of the game is played in the amber, where you touch her, you escalate forward, but she just kind of accepts it. But she's not like all over you like a drunk cat, right? And that's, guys will be like, oh, I just want to kind of wait until I see she's really into it, she's leaning in. Yeah, sometimes that happens, but it's not within your control. What is within your control is just pushing stuff forward. It comes across as very confident to a girl. If a guy knows what he wants and is bringing the vibe into a sexual vibe, you're creating that vibe, you're also physically escalating. That's what a girl wants. She wants to be led.
Yes.
Is that who sung that?
Britney. Was it
Britney, or did you prefer the old days masturbating to that? I mean, listening to that kind of music. Did you prefer a bit of Christina or a bit of Britney?
Well, when Christina came out, I quite liked her actually, but I would say
it was all so sexual back then, wasn't it? They're both 16, so the opening song for Britney was "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." Her prancing around that schoolgirl outfit, and then the opening song for Christina was "Genie in a Bottle."
Yeah,
you know, it's incredibly sexual as well. They're both like 16. They just come off the Disney show, and then this kind of rivalry. It was quite interesting. Look back now and just think, fucking hell, Epstein would have been rubbing his hands, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, Britney, I think in the end has done some bangers. Really, you can't really go wrong with.
So was Christina though. Genie in a Bottle and Fighter. That was a great song.
There's another Christina one actually that I liked. Oh, I can't remember it.
Britney did well. Okay, top 3 Britney songs: "Toxic."
Yeah, Toxic's a classic.
Yeah, because
What about
these
Womanizer?
Womanizer was good.
Womanizer.
You had all these like crossovers. Like I don't know who mixed them, but like Linkin Park, Jay-Z as well. There's some great mixes of these.
I need to actually have
our eclectic pop taste from the 90s. Who'd have thought it? But then again, I like all that cheese. I like Tattoo with those 2 sisters making out. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Gimme More by Britney was quite good.
Gimme More's good. You had all the fucking classics. Like, mate, I was into all that nonsense. Like this kind of upbeat pop. Gabrielle Dreams. It's just all the shit that got wheeled out of weddings as well when friends of mine got married.
Yeah. There's some classics. The potency of cheap music, as Noel Coward once said. Mark Manson says being honest and direct early on is the most effective way.
Correct. Well, we're not going against that. So if you think apply it to what we're saying, you've seen the girl, you think she's hot, you go up to her, that's being honest, and you're direct. Hey, I just saw you, caught my eye. I had to say hello. And then you're into a conversation and she either wants to have that or she doesn't. What he's not saying is go up and go, like be overly vulnerable and just be a flannel, right? The slight danger with some of Mark Manson's content from a dating perspective, in my opinion, is it can be a bit nice guy. He lacks the edge part of just this glint in the eye, this ability to be a bit dark, right, with stuff, be quite sexual. He doesn't talk about that sort of stuff in the book.
No, he doesn't. But the essence of what he's saying is sort of in line with that, though, isn't it? Because you could be honest and direct, but maybe your honest and direct thing is that you want to sleep with her. I mean, and this is the other thing. I don't know why there's guys in the chat who are sort of almost making the argument for, well, can't you take it slow? Can't you hang back? Why would you want to? Would be my question. I mean, do you not want the outcome? Like, what's the
honestly? I think a lot of guys are scared of getting sexual with women. I think there's a bit of fear of intimacy with a lot of the clients, and I think what they're forgetting that, look, whether you want a one night stand or to get married or a long term girlfriend, the best thing to do is sleep with a girl quick, because until you sleep with a girl, she basically holds all the cards. You don't really have relevancy. Once you fuck her, yes, you do have relevancy, and you can then decide. To a degree, she's got obviously a participant as well, but you have more weight in deciding how it plays out.
Yeah,
you don't have any cards.
Who are you quoting there?
Donald Trump said it to Zelensky.
We've got the card. You don't have any cards.
I can't. I wish I could do a Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's quite an acquired taste, isn't he? Donald Trump's do quite a hard skill set. Donald Trump.
All right. Will you visit here in the Philippines? Possibly.
Maybe, but honestly, if you want to work with us and you can afford it, the best thing we're going to be in Thailand the end of May. So best thing to do, send us an email, include your WhatsApp number. We can talk about maybe you join there. info@jamestuss.com or troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Send us an email, include your WhatsApp number. And it's the same just before we'll finish off with a couple of parish notices, but just reminder of the upcoming live immersions. The way we recommend to work with us is live immersion. You come to a boot camp where you find the women are hot in that country. We throw you in a bunch of times with some other dudes. It's a lot of fun. We teach you this skill set of how to be attractive and start conversations anywhere you go with women. It's a skill set. And the places we've got coming up, 16th to 22nd of April, Bogota, Colombia. It's going to be really good. The end of April, 30th of April to the 3rd of May, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Mid-May, 14th to 17th of May, Warsaw, and then the end of May, Bangkok, Thailand. Those are your 4 options. Colombia, Bogota, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Warsaw, Poland, and Bangkok, Thailand. Send us an email, info@jamestuss.com or troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Include your email and we can include your WhatsApp and we can discuss it. Any other parish notices worth going through?
Yeah, Aaron says, this is too real. Best men shop in Harrods while others grab the last sausage roll off Greg's at 5 p.m.
Not sausage roll, I'd be going for a steak bake. It's what Greg's was built on.
So, I mean, this is an example. So this chap here, Matlockization, says, if the man is fast, isn't he rushing things? What about a guy who's cool, calm, and collected? But once you've hooked a girl, you can take it slow. Well, I mean, yeah, yes, once you
we're not talking about your behavior being rushed. That's not attractive. No, your behavior shouldn't be frantic, ADHD squirrel. But the agenda is the whole scenario is moving quite swiftly towards the outcome, which is sleep with a girl. But within that context, yes, you are grounded, you're masculine, you're acting from a place of calm and inner centeredness in the context of moving things fast. But you're not rushed and frantic and like, like you've just done 4 lines of Columbia's Finest. That's not what we're saying. So your behavior is still slow and calm and cool and collected and masculine, but the whole agenda is fast. That's the difference.
Absolutely. Lame Duck, friend of the show, says, I was out shopping in the West. I was out in the West End yesterday, had no motivation, no energy, just ended up doing some clothes shopping.
So Lame Duck, you're another one who's been in touch for a while. Why don't you message us and we can set up some feedback for you when we have time in London.
Yeah.
Get you started.
Were you buying
properly.
Speedos for the summer?
Speedos, sitting around Jimmy Savile's pool.
All right. You mentioned you tried to pull on the first date. I've had a lot of difficulty doing this with Slavic women. Do you slow it down with them? No, not really.
Yeah.
No.
Simple answer. No. Yes, they are lower body count. They often do take maybe a couple of days to sleep with, but the process is still the same, which is you try and get sexual, you try and create a sexual vibe, and you move things forward. And you're never going to get penalized by the girl for in a calibrated way trying to sleep with her fast, because she understands it's just what your job is, right? So the feminine doesn't hold it against you, but at any part of the process, expect her to be like, slow down. Often I find if a Ukrainian or Russian girl doesn't sleep with you the first date, but is keen on you the second date, it almost certainly happens. But I would still push for it. Always go try and sleep with the girl on the first date. Now, ironically, me and Troy will sometimes now go on dates and actually we like the girl, so we want to see her again. There's no agenda to force it fast because we've been in that situation many, many times. But for most guys, you absolutely need to get comfortable sleeping with girls fast, because until you've done it, really, I mean, the number's going to horrify people, but at least 100 times, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, 50 maybe you know what you're doing, but I don't know. The more the merrier, really.
So he says,
yeah, get the fuck out of your parents' house. If you're anything over the age of 25, you really shouldn't be living at home now. Get the hell out. Even if where you live is a downgrade, you need your own space as a guy. You need your own apartment. If you're under your parents' watch, it's really hard to. And I went to, I went and did some more studying after uni. So I basically moved back in with my parents for a bit. And it was like, I was like 27, right? And it really fucked dating up. I was having to like hire hotel rooms or whatever.
Yeah.
I took a few girls back to my parents. They're quite liberal, so they don't mind. But it's just not a good look if you're living with your parents.
Yeah.
Anything over the age of 25, really.
Yeah. So he said, any tips for someone living with their parents when it comes up in dating?
Well, book a cheap.
Get the parents involved.
Or book a cheap hotel room or like an Airbnb, to take the girl to.
Yeah.
But really, on a long-term level, you need to move out fast. It'd be interesting to know how old you were, Stig. Maybe if you can comment, it'd be interesting to know. Yes, of course we do events outside the do the millions around the world actually listen to anything we say? All we do is run boot camps internationally. That's all we do. We never really run boot camps in England. Well, not England, even in London. It's pretty much all international. So get in touch. NJ4700, info@jamestuss.com or troy@realtruefront.com. Include your WhatsApp number. Send us an email if you're serious about doing some training. And yeah, as we just mentioned, Bogota coming up in mid-April, end of April, Buenos Aires, mid-May, Warsaw, end of May, Thailand. 4 locations.
If I can't close on your boot camp, will you fellas take one for the team?
If the cash dollar is enough, Mr. Chad, sometimes we do.
It's all about the crumpled notes, man. I'm afraid.
Crumpled notes to lads.
Yeah.
It's rare, though, we take clients to Latin America and they don't close, actually. It's actually rare if a guy comes on a boot camp in, say, Bogota and doesn't get laid because it's so sexual, the place.
So I don't know, really. I found that when I go for first date pulls with Eastern European girls, they much less like to see me again than when I go slower. Well, yeah.
You might burn it out. You might burn it out. Yeah, you might burn it out. But then again, these girls might not have been interested to that degree anyway. Eastern European women can gameplay, and we've seen it happen with clients. Well, they just take them for a ride. Let's go and see them 2, 3, 4 times so they don't end up sleeping with the girl.
Yeah.
And 32, all right, man, you need to really, get out. Like, you're a man at 30. Like, you need to have your own space.
He does say, my parents have quite a nice big home.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just the easy option, isn't it? You don't appreciate shit you haven't worked for in life. The whole point is the journey, the struggle of becoming a guy. You need to have your own, like, you need to be living outside of, why are you still living? Not critical here, but I'd just be, wonder why at age 32 you're still living at home. Like, you need your own space, don't you?
Yes, you do.
What's your plan? Just stay there indefinitely? I mean, what's the plan there? Women won't respect it as well. Like, if you might get away with it if your parents have a nice big house and they're quite nice people. You could probably get away with bringing girls back, but eventually you're going to get to mid-30s, late 30s, and you're not still going to be living at home. It's like, bro, you're not going to ever get into a really feasible relationship with a woman who respects you unless you got your own place. Like, because they can just tell you're riding your parents' coattails. There's nothing attractive about that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. You need the space. You need the autonomy for your development.
And you need to grow. You need to grow as a man.
People have problems with this because, depending on where you live, rents are very expensive. People can't buy property, blah, blah, blah. There's all of this.
But move country then. Move country.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. You can live like a king, even if you stay in London. And I get it. Rent's very expensive outside of that. You could move to Bogota. You could move to Mexico City. You could move to Sao Paulo, learn a foreign language, live like a king, and your dating options are way better. So Thailand. Maybe get in touch, Stig, but you should really be. We could have a chat offline if you want, but I'd be really recommending you at 30, you need to be thinking, get the hell out, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite late in the game. It's not too late by any means, but it's late to be a self-respecting man still living at home at 32.
Too late, mate.
Too late, mate. Mr. Woods. The fantastic Mr. Woods. Yeah, we'll call it a day then, and we'll do part the next 5 points on the next stream on Friday.
This lad here says,
boys, just so you know, I love you. And unfortunately, I've tuned in a little late. So we'll rewind back and watch from the start as I don't want to miss a second.
Thanks, man.
Good stuff, Mr. Gustavo. He actually is a former client. I think he trained with a coach of ours. I can't remember who, in Barcelona. He's a Swedish guy. He's been watching the content for a long time. Mr. Gustavo, it'd be great to see you. Why don't you join us and finally meet us in person and do some stuff? Send us an email, info@jamestuss.com, troy@ultrafront.com, and we can have a chat about locations.
Indeed. All right, guys. We'll see you very soon.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.